All right, I will call the Wednesday, April 10th, 2024 meeting of the Fire Station Building Committee to order. We are meeting in room 120 of Town Hall. This is also being broadcast via Zoom. Arizona. So no members attending virtually at the moment, so don't need to take a roll call attendance. So first agenda item is public comment.
Donna Jones, it looks very impressive just after a year. You're at the 51 point. That looks very impressive to go from the bare ground to what we've got today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? Then we'll move to the first discussion item. Steve, OPM report.
Okay, hold on while I share here. Okay, can you see that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I just had a little trouble calling it up. Good evening, everyone. I'll go right into the OPM report for our April 10th, 2024 Fire Station Building Committee meeting. Our progress since our last committee meeting, which was on the 13th of March, masonry, interior chases, and the granite lower band around the exterior of the building. Essentially, the mason scope of work is just about 99% complete. They got one chase inside in the decon area, and they've got some returns and some grouting to do on the granite band, and then they're done. Installation of the mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and fire protection rough-ins is ongoing throughout the building and will be for a while. AHU2 was delivered and has now been installed in the turnout gear room, and I do have a photo of that for everyone to see. Switch gear installation is ongoing, and quite a bit of that work is done in the electric room that you enter from the rear of the building. The elevator installation is complete as far as they can go now. The shaft components, the car, the doors, the Miss Metals items are all installed. They still have to do the energizing, but they can't do that until permanent power is provided. So they've come and they're off the site for a bit. Sheetrock installation along with acoustical bats and taping is ongoing, mainly on the second floor. The exterior insulation, light gauge furring and plywood is ongoing on the one-story addition, which is the training center, and that's just about wrapping up. Siding has been continuing. They're on the rear side of the building now, up on the second floor deck areas, and then they will finish up siding with the one-story training room addition. Roofing installation of asphalt shingles, the EPDM membrane detailing and snow guards are continuing. That they're in the 90-95% complete also, except for the training. The one-story training, which they did have a couple of issues there. They've got to make some corrections. They were on site today doing that, and then the asphalt shingles should be finished up on that section of the building. Site work, perimeter drainage, precast curbing at the rear ambulance bays, bollards, and the preparation for the concrete aprons is ongoing. And the overhead door installation started this week. and they do have one of the doors up. I don't know if anybody had a chance to drive by today, but you will see what one of the red doors look like, and I do have a photo. Temp heating is ongoing whenever they need it. Luckily, our temperature is starting to get a little bit warmer. So photo documentation. I didn't get any aerials recent, but this is one from March, so I figured it's nice to start off with an aerial just as a reminder what the whole building looks like. And then most of these photos are from either the 5th of April or today. First photo is just a view of the fire protection pre-action system that services the MDF room. This is located on the first floor in the training room addition. This is a view of the training room. It's still doing rough-ins on mechanicals. This will probably be the last area that starts getting sheetrock. Next few photos are of the app bay. A lot of work going on there, and also a lot of materials coming in and being stored. This is the view of the app bay facing west towards the church from our essentially our lobby stair one doors. Next view is a little farther into the app bay, again facing west. You can see a lot of the utilities hung from the second floor deck. The painters started doing block filling on the CMU. And again, there's a lot of material stored in here that is being incorporated into the building. Sort of a reverse view facing south. You can see ductwork, sprinkler lines, water lines. There's a temp heater there to get lifts. Again, a lot of materials and work going on at the same time. And that's just a view facing back around the other way towards the east. Same type of items. This is a little bit different view. This is from the training deck that's sort of on the 1.5 floor. You enter it from the landing of the training stair, and this will be open as part of the fire department training once we're done. But it sort of gives you an overview of everything that's in the app bag. Next photo is just a view of the progress in the day room. I sort of been taking similar photos each month. Now we've got sheetrock and a lot of the taping has been done. Same as next room. This is a view of the kitchen in progress. Again, sheetrock, taping, and a lot of the utilities in the walls are set, and there's quite a bit up in the ceiling space. Next photo is just a view of the dorm corridor. Same idea. Sheetrock up, taping ongoing. Taping and joint compound. Next photo is a view of one of the toilet rooms. At this point, the ceramic tile panels have been installed, and also the epoxy flooring. Next photo is just a view of the electric room in progress. There's a lot of panels and a lot of material installed in this room. You can see some transformers are hung off the ceiling. Electricians are doing a real good job getting that ready so that we can get in touch with Eversource to schedule the permanent power from the transformer that's located in front of the living quarters trailer. This photo was actually from today. A view of the south elevation of the building. This is where the ambulance bays are. You can see where the site contractors installed some of the precast curbing, and they're getting ready. There's a section of this that has a concrete apron before it transitioned to bituminous pavement. This photo is just a view of the east elevation. Again, this is the one-story training room section of the building, and that's where a lot of the siding and roofing work is finishing up on this end of the building. This was back a couple weeks at the end of March. This was a view of the west side elevation from the church parking lot. To sort of get the whole building in, you have to get a little farther back than standing on the site. And this is from today. This is the first overhead door on the front of the building on the apparatus bay. They have all the materials there stored in the app bay, and they'll be probably here a couple weeks putting all the doors in. And then there's just a sort of an overall front elevation. Also today, you can see the site guys are working on prepping this area also for the concrete apron. Any questions on progress to date? Okay. So, oh, I'm sorry.
No, I just said thank you.
Okay. So schedule look ahead. Completing the masonry chase walls and the exterior granite band, completing the roofing of the EPDM membrane, asphalt shingles, and start of roof accessories. Complete the overhead doors, continue interior sheetrock and taping, continue painting in the app bay, typo there. Start priming and painting the drywall from the second floor, continue the tile work, complete the rigid insulation clips for plywood and trim on the exterior, along with the siding. Start painting of the siding, weather and temperature permitting. They're going to be continuing with the MEPFP rough-ins on the first and second floor. Complete the switchgear so they can connect to permanent power, and then continue site work, drainage, and the prep for the concrete aprons and additional surface work. So other items that have come up in the last month, if you recall, we did have a conversation when Ton was attended the meeting about a cell signal booster. We ended up realizing that we actually own a cell signal booster as part of the electrical contractor's scope of work. So that the proposed cost for the Betco system, which at the meeting we had been given the okay to get pricing for just doing the rough wiring, that's no longer required. Ton has asked to have power and data devices installed for the possibility of getting the free AT&T and Verizon signal boosters if they're needed. We're getting pricing on that, but that would be only taking advantage of the fact that we're in construction. You may never need that, depending on how well everything is working with the system that's being installed. And I did forward to him the submittal on what was approved, and he was fine with it. So a little bit of good news there. The Mass Electric Code issues. So we had talked about the project was designed and bid in 22 under the current 2020 code. The 2023 code was implemented in February timeframe, but is retroactive to January 1st of 2023. The permit was issued after that. So the project is under the 2023 electrical code. There was an item that needed to be revised by change order to meet the electrical code, which was arc fault breakers in the panels, which the electrician will be installing, and they've priced, and we've given the okay for that. There is another component of the cybersecurity discussion for any of the emergency systems, and we've got a meeting scheduled for this coming Thursday with Peter, who was on the call here, and Dawn Whittier, Vertex GDD, and Talon, the IT director, to go over not only what's going in for the new building, which is really only lighting control, and if that ever fails, it fails with the lights on, but also any of the town systems that may be getting relocated over there. And it's really, it pertains to emergency systems. So that we're gonna go through that this coming Thursday. The air handling unit, the access for maintenance for the air handling unit 2 and 3, which was a building department issue. There was a number of meetings and cost reviews and estimates in regard to providing access to those air handling units for maintenance. And there had been talk about potentially putting in a couple of catwalks. Those estimates came out combined, if it was for both, running around $92,000. There was a suggestion that in lieu of that, that the under the project we purchase a genie lift that stays at the fire station, and it does not get pulled out for any other business around town. We did get pricing on that. I know Justin met with Bob, and as of yesterday, it appeared Bob was satisfied with not having steel catwalks for those 2 units. I think part of what helped was actually showing on AHU 2. Once it was hung and located, and the layout of that's in the turnout gear locker room, that there is an aisle directly under the air handling unit, so that lift can go right underneath it. The access doors open down. As a matter of fact, let me just. So here's the turnout gear room. That's before the unit went up, and it gets installed here. That's the unit in place, and it just happens that there's an aisle between lockers right under that. So and we've gone over that this issue with Matt also, who is comfortable with using the lift. Again, it's going to stay at the station. The other area is the air handling unit 3, which is in the apparatus bay, and that sits a little bit bigger unit, but it sits on the steel here, and all the access is from this side. There's nothing on the back side of this unit. So going back, Bob was comfortable with at AHU 3, having a letter stating clear access will be maintained, or striping of the floor with markings stating no storage allowed below the access area. The genie lift quote that we got from I think Northeast Equipment was $12,799, and we would need to put in a dedicated outlet to keep it charged. So it was saying 15,000, which is a lot less than 92. Figure there might be questions on this item.
So Justin and I had a meeting with Steve and Ron to kind of go over this on Monday, just kind of preliminarily before it got presented to the entire committee. I think Bob feels pretty strongly about having some access to the units. So I don't think we're going to get him to waver from that. The lift, I guess, Chief, you can speak to this. It sounds like the lift, there's an area to keep the lift that's going to be out of the way, and yes, fairly straightforward. And Matt Malnerick was good with using a lift to get at those units. The other positive is that with this lift, it can also be used to access other things, lighting, if ductwork needs to be worked on, anything like that. So it's more flexible than the catwalk, and substantially less cost. So I don't know if anybody has anything that they want to discuss on that.
Good thing the signal booster.
What's that, Justin?
It's a good thing we don't have to pay for the signal booster anymore.
Right. I mean, it's basically a wash. So
The only thing I would add, Kevin, is that we met collectively with Bob, Matt, and Chief Kinney. And it's not just like a preference to the building. He referenced the code exactly how it did need to have access. And, he went and saw HU2 is the one in the training room. They outlined where the lockers were going to be, so addressed that. And then he came up with the last item there for HU3. So, I think it's simple enough.
We don't anticipate any more suggestions from him on this.
In terms of the catwalks, no. I think it's done. I mean, we're all on the same page.
Yeah, there may be other things that come up during final walkthroughs, but this, I think, addresses anything with the air handling units.
Yeah.
So it's not down as an action item because I don't think that there's anything to really vote on. It'll just get presented as a change order, or as a project expense, I guess. It will just come out of the equipment.
Yeah, well, I've got it in the budget now, Kevin. So this won't go through Castagna. It'll just, we already have a quote from the supplier directly to the town. So, we can, if we're all in agreement, we can move forward with that because that particular lift is a 15-week lead time.
Yeah, move forward. I agree. Move forward. I don't know if anybody feels strongly otherwise, but I think it's a pretty reasonable compromise.
Yeah, well, and like was mentioned, I think it's so much better because it's got so much flexibility for the entire apparatus bay. Because just looking at those pictures, there's a lot of utilities that get hung from that ceiling, as does with any fire department. So.
Okay.
All right, we'll move forward on that. I did put on here the dedication plaque, but Ron, you run up, wait till I go through mine, and then you can bring that up with your business.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
All right. It's basically just
Sorry, I didn't realize my camera was off.
Talk about layout and names and so forth. So that dedication plaques do have a lead time. The training roof access, that was the other item, which right now we're estimating on the high side of $7,000 to $10,000, but the door is already on site. The door was donated by Castagna. The framing was done. We're deleting the pavers that were shown on there and installing walk pads. So I'm hoping that's a wash. And there will be a ramp needed at the door, maybe some signage. We had hoped to get a number on the ramp before this meeting, but we didn't. So installing that door to access that roof at this point, again, it's an item that was on Bob's list. It certainly fits into the budget, and I think I'm estimating way high on this. But I don't want to estimate low and it comes in, higher, and we're talking about it again. So, right now the contractor he's doing the siding along that wall, and they are framing or siding around that opening, anticipating we're going to put that door in.
So the $50,000 for pavers is gone. That's out.
That's been voided, correct.
And I know we kind of beat this topic to death last meeting, but the ramp is needed for ADA access?
Yeah.
Or is that, I thought there was potentially, we're addressing that with like a sign on the door that says authorized personnel. Do we still need the ramp to do that?
Yeah, we still need the ramp because the town does not regulate or enforce the ADA. So the MAAB, which is the Massachusetts Architectural Access Board, if we advise them that this is maintenance only and the public is not allowed out on the roof, then they're fine with that. That's allowed. I did reach out to the Justice Department just to ask and confirm, and the ADA said, nope, if it looks like a duck and squawks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's a duck. So if you have a door going out to a roof that can support people, then it needs to be accessible, needs to be handicap accessible.
And it's
Um,
not a huge ramp. It's a step down.
It's, yeah,
not like it's 20 feet long.
right,
It's small.
We don't have to raise the parapet or anything. I know that was talked about last
No.
No,
meeting.
that's getting
No.
rid of the pavers helped all of that. We're not
Mhm.
running the pavers all the way across like we had talked about. And we've measured to ensure that the parapet that's there it meets or exceeds, guardrail height.
Is there any credit for the pavers that aren't being installed now, or is that just a wash to add the walking paths?
We're gonna
Well,
get
that-
pricing from Castagna.
Yeah, at worst, it's a wash. Because if we recall, the pavers were only on either end of that roof, and we would, the idea is to put the walk pads on the a larger portion of the roof, because if you're going to be training on there, you're going to have equipment and stuff, and we really don't want the membrane to be punctured. So, but the one thing about walk pads is that they're not all that expensive, and they generally adhere those to the membrane roof, so they're not moving around or anything. But the walk pads cost has to come from Stanley. The pavers are coming from Castagna, so it's still in it's still in the process, but we're trying to keep this as low a cost as possible with still having the training roof useful and meeting whatever ADA that we need to meet, and putting the sign on the inside as far as some regulatory stuff.
Anything else anyone wants to discuss on that? I think we're good to move on, Steve.
Okay. So as far as Castagna and their process right now, they're roughly 63% complete through the end of March, based on the recent pay app that we reviewed and have approved. Schedule. The project is essentially on time. They're still shooting for substantial completion for the June 15th date. We did talk about the fact that it may be another couple weeks, but they're trying to hold to that. That additional couple weeks wouldn't affect the overall time completion time, which is the end of October. Couple long lead items that are of some concern. The generator right now is due to be delivered at the end of this month. Electrician is prepared for it. It's just making sure that it actually does get here. And even if it slips into May, they'll still be able to to get it connected. Air handling unit 1 and 3 have ship dates of April 22nd and May 25th. So that there's going to be a little bit of a hustle on the one that ships at the end of May. The one that they're still trying to get actual dates is the storefront aluminum doors, which is the main entry door and the other outside doors. But they're working with their subs on that. That's the Conair doors that we had the change order to switch to, and I'm speculating that because of past experience with Conair and EFCO and some other aluminum storefront and window manufacturers, they don't like to give out dates, hard dates, because they're trying to build some kind of cushion in for themselves. But I think this has been going on long enough that they should be able to deliver on time. And if they don't, we'll come up with some other alternative. And right now, we still have the FD move in for July. Excuse me. So change order status, we do have a change order number 4 that's getting ready to be issued for $25,920.58 plus or minus. I say that because there's a couple that we've sent some comments back, so that we know we're going to go with it, but it's going to not quite be as much as what I'm showing. Excuse me. PCO 31, adding duct smoke detectors. We went over that at the previous meeting, as well as PCO 32 to delete a section of CMU wall in the app bay. We also talked about the revision to the signage, where we've deleted some signage, we've added some signage. And PCO 36, we also talked about that. That was a no cost change for relocating DCU 3 up onto the roof. Also, PCO 37 was control modules for the revised signage. The next item, PCO 38, we didn't. This was the one issue for the electrician for arc fault breakers per the 2023 electric code. We're making that change, and that change is within the panel. That was $2,474. PCO 42, there was an ADA revision to a kitchen cabinet to the millwork contractor. It was $882. PCO 43, the fitness room. The fitness room originally had no ceiling in it, but during coordination of all the various utilities that had to go through that ceiling, there was so much stuff up there that it was noted that we needed to put in an acoustical ceiling in that area, and it did affect not only ceiling but some sprinkler. So I've got a not to exceed on that of $9,653 because there was some errors the subs made on their overhead and profits in putting markup on labor burden. It's not going to come down a lot, but it's not going to be that number. PCO 48, there was some outlet revisions that were made in the MDF room that ended up being a credit, $2,115.88. PCO 49, part of the DCO 3 relocation, there was some electrical work that was $439.72. And PCO 50, we had to add a couple soffits for a ceiling height change in the corridor due to some structural steel that was actually below ceiling. And that was $945.73. We also ran the utility use by the contractor off of the town's system from January through March, and that's a credit back of $4,618.81. Anybody have any questions on any of those PCOs?
No questions.
Looks like Peter.
Who's the chair, Peter Diamond?
Sorry.
Peter Diamond.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Peter Diamond.
On the PCO 38 for AFC GFCI change. So there was no change between the 2020 code and the 2023 code regarding this change in discussion here. GFCI, AFCI devices were required to be readily accessible in both the 2020 code and the 2023 code.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so I was just.
Yep.
I'm just stating that you presented it as it's because the 2023 code came into effect.
Okay, I guess you're correct. It came up as part of the discussion of the 2023 code, and that's where we realized that a change had to be made.
Then,
Thank you, Peter.
yeah, then the 2023 code was effective in February, but it wasn't retroactive. It was effective February 2023 for permits issued subsequent to that date.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's correct. And we've simply told everybody that the documents went out to bid in November, I believe, Steve, because the bids were due December 23rd of 2022. So.
And then just one comment on some
Mhm.
discussed earlier on pre-action system. And I really wish that the pre-action system had fed into the electric room. There's a lot of equipment in there, and if there's an accident, the sprinkler system goes off, the town's going to be in big trouble if that gets wet.
So Peter, we're actually in the process of getting a price from Castagna, and our fire protection engineer is looking at it. So we're going to price it up two ways to get a pre-action system for the room, just so that the committee can see what that costs. And then the other way, it's being suggested that the pre-action system that we do have in the building that was requested by Ton, that piping apparently is pretty close to the electric room. So what we're looking at right now is getting a price to connect to that piping into the electrical room. And so we don't have to buy a new pre-action panel, but we're looking into if we can zone that. So if there's a problem in the MDF room, the water flows. Otherwise, there's no water in the MDF room. And then the same thing for the electrical room. If there's a problem, obviously we need to get the water in there, but the pre-action system, that's the other approach. So we're trying to get two prices right now so that we can share that with the building committee and Justin and just say, to your point, this is an option the committee can consider to get, I guess, the wet pipes for the sprinkler system to be dry in that room.
Thank you. I'm glad you're addressing that.
So Castagna should have a price soon. We're working with them on that.
We talked about that today at the job meeting.
Mhm.
One final thing, you were going through a list of things that need to be done going forward, but I didn't see the lightning protection system in any discussion. Do you have an update on when that might be scheduled?
To be honest, no. We'll have to check with the contractors as to when that's going to be complete.
I think the electrician made a comment during an inspection I had this week that the lightning contractor had visited the site to take a look, and he said he probably couldn't start till the roof was done. I think he was still working on the roof.
But generally, they like to come in and just do the entire roof and
Right.
do their entire scope. And with the one-story training roof not done yet, I can imagine he won't. He'll wait because they're usually in and out pretty quickly.
Okay, and then the final thing regarding the lightning protection system was, did anybody inquire with that company whether or not they would need the loop conductor, the ground ring?
So the ground ring, just for what it's worth, we did. Dave Pereira from GGD had issued, and this is a long time ago, right? An email. I believe you had brought that up previously, and he said that whatever, and he'll be on the call tomorrow with us. So my intent was to have him talk about that too tomorrow. But we are below the 5 ohm requirement for the building.
What test already?
What's that?
Did the test was completed already?
I don't know if he did a test or if he's just doing the math. So his email back way back when we had sent you a letter based on a few things, I think in the fall of this year. Actually, Steve sent it to me. I'll give you the exact date.
It was either August or September, I believe.
Yeah. And anyway, I've asked Steve to not only talk about, Dave to not only talk about the cyber protection, but also talk about the ohm thing tomorrow. So
yeah, there's usually a test done to give that.
Okay.
And then I just want to bring it to everybody's attention because the loop conductor was in the specifications at some point. And if for any reason the lightning protection company is required to put that in as part of the process of installing the lightning protection system, that determination needs to be done sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
You're trying to wrap up the site there, the grounds. So we'll have a discussion on that tomorrow. That's all. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Peter.
You're welcome.
It was September 7th, Peter, is the date of the letter, September 7th, 23. And his response was in response to the grounding per the Motorola R56 standard. So we can talk to him about that tomorrow further. He said there's a 10-foot, he expanded on it a little bit in the letter. He said there's a 10-foot grounding rod, minimum of 12 inches below grade per the lightning protection details. And I guess there was another question about ledge, because he basically said that if ledge is encountered, the rod can be angled according to the National Electrical Code. And if any other construction issues arise, the contractor is responsible for letting us know if there's any problem putting it in.
Yeah,
So.
the NFPA 780, which covers the installation of the lightning protection systems, there's different procedures and methods if the ground rod can't be driven the full 10 feet below grade.
Okay.
I won't elaborate on that. I would let the lightning contractor, he should be consulted once again sooner rather than later to see what alternate methods may have to be done to do the system. That's all.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
Steve, back to you.
So change order status, again, we've got three change orders that we've issued. We're going to be issuing a fourth. The construction contingency status, yeah, I'm showing, and this is tying back into forecast budget, but the construction contingency was $1,008,850. We got change order was $117,285, and then potential PCOs, those that are submitted and those that are forecasts through phase 2, which was requested, and makes sense if what's our worst case, in regard to what if in phase 2 the entire footprint of where the building is in phase 2 is ledge. What if we hit some additional hazardous materials when we take the building down that's above and beyond what's in the spec. So I've tried to account for a lot of potential unknowns and put a price to it. So those come in at 572, 685, 62, and it's an exact number because there's PCOs that have been submitted that we're still vetting through. So that leaves us a remaining contingency, and this is the remaining construction contingency of $318,878. And again, I've sort of tried to throw the kitchen sink in as far as what we may encounter. $318,000 is still a fair amount for anything that may be requested. That may not be maybe more of an aesthetic thing versus a needs type of thing, which we can at least have the room to discuss. If I go further, so the budget status. So we got the construction contingency at $318,879. The soft cost contingency that was originally $212, and we've had some items on that, and I've even, when we're talking about throwing things in, I've even put in extended CA in case for some reason the contractor ends up going over his time frame. So that soft cost contingency is $164,203. The owner contingency haven't touched. That's still at 301,470. So total contingency remaining on the project right now is 784,552. And then obviously that number is going to change. But just as we're talking now, because again, the hope is that some of the things that I'm forecasting, we don't have to, we're not going to encounter, we don't have to implement. But you know, there was an ask to just say what's our worst case. So
Right.
so that's what I did. And again, it's still a very comfortable contingency. Not that we're looking to spend all of it. Obviously, we want to be under budget on the project. So I don't know if there's any questions on that. I mean, I have just for everybody, I did add this. I forgot. This is the Genie lift that we're going to go forward with for the access to the HUs and so forth in the FA.
That's the one Matt Valrich suggested.
Yeah, Matt came back and said he's comfortable with it.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
Um,
I touched base with him, and yeah, he's good. He's good with the one that this is the one that has the 29-foot 6-inch platform height. And that
So
can,
sorry, Steve, just to clarify on your previous slide for anyone who's listening in and maybe didn't hear the conversation from last week. The 318,879, that is not what we're projecting right now to have remaining based on PCOs and potential PCOs that we know about. That's those numbers plus, let's just assume we hit ledge everywhere we got to dig in phase 2, and there's some unknown hazardous material in the building when we demo it, and on and on and on, trying to capture potentially worst case scenario. I know that's kind of a tricky term to lasso in, but as best we can, that if everything went awry between now and October, we'd have around $300,000 left in construction contingency.
correct. That would be the amount we had to pay. Like I'm carrying hold on one second. For the phase 2, I'm carrying $100,000 for ledge and another 75 for any kind of additional hazmat. And the ledge, I basically calculated. We have a unit price for ledge. I calculated based on having to do the basins that are on that side, the drainage basins, what the depth are, as if it was all ledge. So that's I came in a little under. I rounded up to 100,000. So carrying some big numbers in that. But the 318 would be, if we had to pay that, what's still remaining. And same thing with the other costs. So I mean, there's still some stuff being, some FF&E and being bought out, but we have quotes, we have some numbers. I don't think we're going to go too far off of those at this point.
Okay.
So
So I would just like to, just for what it's worth, right? So we've gone through like the worst case scenario. So if the kitchen sink happened and all things went sideways, we'd still have $300,000 left at the end of the project. But Steve, I think it's important to also say, if things continue tracking the way they're tracking, and we don't have any additional costs in hazmat, and we don't have any additional costs in demo, where are we right now? The total contingencies are $784,000, right? So I think, and the reason I wanted to just mention that is, as we get closer to the end here, there are going to be things that, and we've all been doing this for a long time, Steve and I and others. Even Kevin, you've done this, right, in your professional career, as has many of you on the committee. When the community comes out and ribbon cutting and sees the building and everything is completely done, if there are some aesthetic things that, you know, the drawings aren't perfect, right? If there are some aesthetic things, or if there's a piece of equipment that the chief wants, or if there's something, you know, that should get done now, these are the things that the community, in my experience anyway, my personal experience, will come out, and if they see something that doesn't look right, they'll say, really, we spent all this money and that's what we get. And it's just the way, you know, it's human nature. And then the same thing, you know, once this building is done, if the chief all of a sudden comes back in 5 years and says, oh, I need this because it was never done when the building was done, you know, it's kind of like, what? Right? So the great news about this is that we did a very good job collectively, and I'm talking your side of the table as the owner, managing all this from the day we started, right? From the day y'all hired us to where we are now. And, you know, I just want to make sure that, and I understand fully, if there's funds remaining, they're going back to the town. And I just think that we're working with everybody right now, especially in particular Ton, right? Because we want the same thing, that from a cyber perspective, from a technology perspective, and things like that, you know, Ton has, as all part of this cost, he's moving a lot of network equipment over to the fire station. And so he's asked for switches, he's asked for things that make complete sense if we're going to make that move. And so, you know, all of that is kind of like part of the job. So I just wanted to just comment that we're in a really good spot right now. And, you know, now's the time to continue to watch the money and make sure we're getting every bit of a return on investment we should. But, you know, I just don't want, or I just wanted to let you know that I have been on projects where, you know, and it's usually when the town's not in favor of the job. It's usually when, you know, we're building a public library or something, or it's a type of project where the town has just been like, oh, we never wanted to spend money on this to begin with. That they don't spend the money, and then the community comes out and says, you know, why didn't we do this 2 years ago when we built the building, right? Why are you asking for more money now? Or why wasn't that, you know, when the construction team was out here, why didn't you just make that look better? You know what I mean? So that's, for what it's worth, that's my comment.
Yeah, I mean,
Thank
the
you.
time to do anything is when the construction guys are there, you know. So, and I think we're looking at evaluating everything, but there may be something else that comes up as we're working through finishes. If we see something, we'll bring it to everybody's attention.
I think just to add to what they're saying, like something that we discovered operationally that I'm going to submit a quote for, is we've never stocked ambulance supplies in the forms of medications before, because we had no means to really do that and to secure it. And with the new facility we have the space to put a med vault in. A med vault, if it meets the state requirements for tracking and auditing, has to have software, all these things. So I'm putting together a system now that would not only take care of that, but the good news is that it would be compatible with our Knox box system throughout the town. So it won't be a one-off where that keys or the auditing trail only work just for one med vault. It would work for all buildings, the key releases, all of that. So trying to work through that now, you know, trying to figure out how many keys we should have, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I will have that information, but it's something that in our current building was never a thought because we had no means to do it and it was not secure, where now it is. And since Norwood closed, it is a pain in the neck to try to restock your ambulances because you got to drive all the way to Good Sam to do it. And we're either going to be paying overtime for somebody to do that, or for having a unit be out of service longer than it needs to be on a return trip, rather than being able to have some of that. And we actually, with our new EMS coordinator, have discovered that we can stock some of those medications and actually save money, cheaper for us to do it rather than going through some other pharmacy. So we want to attempt to try to do that, or have that capability.
Yeah, I think that was the reason for the request for the exercise, just to see what
Mhm.
shape we're in. And it looks like we're gonna be in pretty good shape regardless, so. If there's things that we should consider, just, I think we bring them in front of the committee and see what people think. Any other comments on that? Right. Steve, are you still going? Are you still going or are you done?
I'm all set, Kevin.
All right, so now can I share my screen with the plaque?
Sorry, what?
Let's share your screen with the,
I
Oh,
just
yeah.
wanna share my screen with the, so when we're all done, we own a dedication plaque inside of the, station. And what I'd like to do is I just wanted to show you like the layout of the plaque that we would recommend. So in the middle here, we can either put the town seal, we can put it, like, in other words, this can be as graphic and as text filled as you'd like, right? So actually, I need to take all these names off here and put
We got some new committee members.
name. Yeah. All right. So forget that. So, so what we're, I was just copying and pasting, right? So what we're suggesting is that we put here like the town seal, and then maybe in the lower right-hand corner or left-hand corner, or maybe up here and up here, we can put the fire symbol. We can put whatever fire graphics the chief and his team were thinking. Then we were kind of thinking that on this side, we could have the select board members who are currently in their seats now and will be when the building opens, the town administrator, but maybe in some, this is all up to you, right? So you can do whatever you want with this. This is just a kind of a quick recommendation. Some have said, okay, but we started this project in 2022. So the 2022 select board members were these, the 2022 town administrator, sometimes when a town administrator goes away. And then we would list, sort of all the feasibility folks who are on there. And that would include the chief, and then obviously Blythe who left, but Matt Hafner who left, everybody who really helped us out during the facility process. And then also the firefighters, right? We would list all the firefighters who were involved in this process, because it wouldn't be what it is without everybody on that left-hand side. And then everybody on the right-hand side is obviously the building committee, the town department leaders, everything from Todd to, again, Matt and Bob and Peter and everybody who's been involved. And then there have been community members, right, who have also been involved in the project. So sometimes, if folks have come up and done these things, like Donna has been involved. She's looking for photos right now for the murals that we planned on doing for the FF&E. Just get out the vote, right? You've had some community members help to get out the vote. I know that, I forget his name, I'm sorry. He's taken all the photos, right? The aerial photos
Andy.
of the sites.
Andy, yep.
Andy, yep, and Andy, and he's also part of the green committee in town. So we could also list, if you wanted to, right? We could put on here the design review board. So anybody who you want, and that's why, if you're okay with this layout, I can, or if you're not okay with it, I guess what I'm saying I'd like to do is send you this layout, and you all can mark it up and tell us who you want on here, what you want on here in terms of graphics, and then we'll, get it off to the contractor. So if we could get this basically by the end of April, beginning of May, I think we should be good. So let's say before May 15th. You think that's okay, Steve?
Yeah, because we don't need the dedication plaque for certificate of occupancy. So a lot of times it comes in after, but it comes in just before you do your official grand opening.
Yeah, and then, even sometimes, down at the bottom of the plaque, having done a lot of schools and public safety and library projects, a lot of times there's recognition of the taxpayers who actually funded all of this and made it all possible, right?
That's important. We've been doing it on all of them lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both, for sure. Bigger text maybe. Yeah, I think if you send this, we can come up with the names. I'm looking, our next meeting is May 8th. I don't know if we probably would need to vote on who's gonna be on the final list or come to
Yeah.
some sort of agreement
So
somehow.
you can make it bigger.
Perfect.
Well, not too big.
So,
And don't forget, there'll be multiple looks at this because there's nothing worse than having someone's name spelled wrong
Mhm.
and
Right.
already on the wall.
right.
Okay, so you need a first, by our next meeting, you need a first pass.
Yeah, like just a first pass of like, these are all the names we'd like to have on there. These are the categories of names we'd like to have on there.
Yep.
And, then, what you want graphically, like, yes, we would like the town seal, or, we want the town seal, and then in the four corners, we want, like the fireman's favorite tool, the axe and the helmet, or the Norfolk fire patch, whatever you want to do, like, it can be as graphic as you want to be as well.
And we're gonna need, that seal needs to be a specific file. It's called a vector file, and I don't know whether you may have that in the town. Another town I'm working in, they didn't have it. Because what happens is when they blow it up, it loses all its clarity.
Mhm.
So we ended up giving the contractor a change order for his signage sub to actually do the vector file. And then they just can keep it for whenever they do their next project. So I don't know, that may be a question for Tom.
Okay.
We can follow up with him on that.
All right, so if you maybe send that to Justin and I, Ron, and we'll get it.
Yep.
We'll somehow organize it to get everybody's thoughts before that meeting.
Okay.
Nathan, the other discussion items I had here were update on mass saves incentive.
Yes, so, Justin, there was an application that was sent over to you from Trevor McGee from Mass Saves.
Justin had to leave, unfortunately.
That's okay. So we need to get that signed, Steve. So if we can get Justin to take Blight's name off and put his name on, and then sign that. As we reported last month, the EUI for the building is 32.7 or 32.8, which is below the 35. Mass Save has awarded you their full incentive, which is the tier 1. So they will be giving you $2 a square foot as a check. Again, that's found money, right? So this is just some more money you'll have at the end of the job. We did not incorporate any of this into any budget. So there's nothing
Nope.
anywhere that says, that these incentives are coming, because in our mind, it's not real until you get the check. So when Justin signs that, they're going to send you a check at the end of the job for $2 a square foot. That plus all of the incentives for using an all-electric building, which is the adders. They call it the funding adder for every ton of VRF AC. So you'll get that as well. And then at the end of the job, they come in, and if everything passes accordingly, you'll get another $1 a square foot. What that means is they want to look at utility bills. So what the other thing that we did was we sent the EUI off to Matt, and basically said, if we take the EUI for the building and we multiply that, or we translate that from kilo BTUs per hour per square foot, we translate that into kilowatt hours, and we use what the town of Norfolk right now pays for electricity. This is how much you should anticipate the building is going to cost to operate for a year. And Matt has come back and said, well, that's actually below how much we pay to operate the existing station between the oil and the electricity and everything else. So if that's the case, then I would just like to say, wow. And it's just kudos to you all for making the good decisions. So that's the Mass Save update. And just the quick solar update. We have also, there has been a report done by Revision Energy to put a 25 kilowatt system up on the roof. That's what will fit up on the roof. And so, the big question is, when do you want to, like, and it's a Justin question. So, but, he did look into this, Todd. I think you may have worked with him on that, right? Looking into the fact that any money is left over for the job, according to the state. I don't know who he checked with, the AG's office or whomever, that you can actually use those funds to put that solar up, which is consistent with a lot of the other projects that we do. If they have money left over, the first thing they try to do is put solar on the building. So in addition to that, if we did run the math just for what it's worth, and if the town ever does change their bylaws about solar canopies, putting the solar canopy up over the parking lot would get you to net zero, which means you would be generating as much or more electricity than the building would use every year. So
Is that the entire parking lot, or could we do it and be at the back of the parking lot, for example?
I told her just the whole parking lot. Like I said, just like figure the whole parking lot. And she came back. So the roof accounts for 25 kilowatts of a system. The canopy for the whole parking lot would be a 40 kilowatt system. So you'd end up with 65 kilowatts on the site, which would match or actually generate a bit more power than what you need.
Yeah, my recollection when we talked about this last time was that Justin confirmed with the town attorney that we would not necessarily need to go back to town meeting. You're right, we can just use project funds if they're left over, but I think there was discussion we'd have to go out for an RFP. So
Yeah.
that we still have to discuss internally.
Yeah.
So
Um,
Todd had the discussion with bond counsel to make sure that there were no issues. It didn't surpass the threshold necessary in order to be an issue.
all right, anything else on solar, Ron, or?
Nope. No, that was just Revision kind of checked in with me and said, when do you think the RFP is coming out? What can we do to help? Yada, yada, yada.
Okay. The last discussion I had was this estimated Saturday costs for Vertex. So Steve, I don't know if we turn it back over to you, but just to give everybody a little background, the contractor feels that they need to work some Saturdays, I think the next 12 Saturdays, or they've already started on Saturday.
Yeah, Castagna notified us that they were planning on working the next 12 Saturdays, going from the 30th of March through the 15th of June, right up to the completion date, to obviously to meet the date. So I sent an email off to Justin and Kevin and the chief, notifying them of that, and that we would be on site for that. I mean, provided that everybody was okay with it, and I wasn't looking for an amendment to increase our budget, because I believe we will be able to capture those costs within the budget. But Kevin and I talked, and we figured we'd bring it up, talk about it at the committee. At this point now, we did Saturday the 30th, and then last Saturday the 6th. So we've got 2 into it. As a matter of fact, I estimated based on, what our rate is for Doug Barletta to be there for 8 hours, and it's $14,304. To be honest, the 30th I went because Doug had a previous commitment, and to be honest, I did not stay 8 hours. I stayed 4, so it's gone down a little bit. Just trying to save it.
Your 4 hours are like Doug's 8 hours, though, I'm sure.
It is nice. Except, I mean, it's still in, it's a little under 14 if we do that. And, maybe they don't work all of Saturdays. I mean, it depends on what's going on. I mean, if there's going to be a painter there painting walls, we're going to be able to see the paint that he did on Monday. But so far it's been multiple subs. So, and it was just, it's a discussion point. If the committee says, no, you don't come and we'll, you can look at it on Monday, just let me know.
I mean, my opinion, so I just wanted to see if anybody had any comments, but my opinion is this was discussed very early on that we wanted an OPM on site all the time when the contractor was there. It looks like the cost will still be covered by your budget. So I mean, I think we just keep going forward unless anybody has a strong opinion otherwise. That's what I agree.
And
I'll jump.
for my 2 cents, like our OPM Doug Barlett is worth more than his weight in gold. He's been amazing.
Yeah.
I
Aaron,
think
you have
I think more time today.
I don't disagree with the concept. I just don't understand why we don't know whether it's in the budget or not.
I didn't say that.
So
It's in the budget.
yeah, from what Steve is projecting right now, it's in the budget. So Steve gave us a line item for OPM costs at the start of the job. And it appears at this point that the 14,000 will be in it.
Aaron, I said I wasn't looking for an amendment to increase our budget. Maybe you didn't hear me say that. It's essentially the question is, do you want us there on Saturday or not?
I think the answer is yes, unless Aaron has. What's that?
I don't. I just thought I heard that potentially it might have a budget. There seemed to be some question as to whether it was in the budget or not. If it's in the budget, then I have no comment.
That was that was the only question I had originally to Steve when it came up, was that if it was going to put us over the original budgeted amount. It does not appear that's the case.
Correct.
Any other discussion on Saturday work? Okay. That was all the discussion items listed. Does anyone else have a discussion item that they want to talk about? All right, hearing none, we'll move to our action items. So our only action item tonight is approval of meeting minutes. With Chris back tonight, so he'll preside over this.
I reviewed the December 20th, 2023 and January 10th, 2024 meeting minutes.
Yep. And I reviewed the March 13th meeting minutes.
Neither of us had any comments on them, so I'd like to ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
All right, so I'll take a roll call vote. Aaron Hunt.
Aye.
Lindmark.
Yes.
Trustee Janosik.
Yes.
Chief Kinney.
Yes.
Chris Baker.
Yes.
Kevin Champagne. Yes. All right, the minutes pass. Any other action items from anyone? No. I'll ask for a motion to adjourn then.
So moved.
All right, roll call vote. Aaron Hunt.
Aye.
Lindmark.
Aye.
Trustee Janosik.
Yes.
Chief Kinney.
Yes.
Chris Baker.
Yes.
Kevin Champagne. Yes. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice night.
Thanks, everyone.